Hey guys, it's Sarah. Yes, you read the title correctly. Today we're going to have a little discussion about the fact that I literally got rid of half of my TBR. I will tell you why, I'll tell you how, and I'll tell you how I'm feeling about it. Okay, so this has been something that has been happening since I want to say November, maybe. I feel like it was before, it was October, November sometime when this whole thing kind of happened and progressed, and I made decisions and all that. So it's been going on for a few months. I had a really good talk with my husband. We have weekly date nights. So every Monday night we go to our favorite restaurant here in town. We sit at the bar. We know the bartender. It's a lot of fun. So we do that every Monday that we can. And we were having our weekly date night one night, and we started talking about stuff. And of course, my books came up because I was starting to feel overwhelmed again because I had over 800 unread books on my shelves. Over 800. I don't remember the exact number, but it was 800 something. I was creeping towards 900 and I was starting to freak out a little bit. And here's the thing. Sometimes that doesn't bother me. Other times it does. And it was starting to get to a point where it was bothering me more than it wasn't. And I was starting to feel overwhelmed by it and getting that decision paralysis. And I'm never going to read all these. And the other part of it is we move regularly, and we will move regularly until my husband retires from the military, which is still going to be another, probably 7 years at least. So we still have a little ways to go. And books weigh a lot. And with the military, you have a weight limit on how much the military will pay to move your household goods. There's a weight limit on it. And if you go over that, you have to start paying for things. So we definitely feel every time we move, we have to make sure we stay under that weight limit. And the way that I buy books could definitely make that go over. It could. That's a reality. So that's something we have to take in consideration anytime we buy anything. Okay, we're going to have to move this later. Is this worth it? And just knowing that we are going to be moving this summer, it started hitting me that I need to get rid of some of these books. I actually need to start making some decisions and taking some action and doing something about it. And, in our conversation, he's really good about asking me hard questions, and he's really good about putting things into a different perspective because sometimes I can't get out of my own way. And, my whole thing is when I'm getting rid of books, it's really, really hard for me to get rid of something, especially if I haven't read it. Because what if I love it? What if this is my new favorite book of all time and I don't even know it's been sitting, on my shelves for 3 years? And my husband was like, well, if it's been sitting on your shelves for 3 years, do you even want to read it? Because if you really wanted to, you probably would have picked it up by now. But when I have 800 plus other books to choose from, what are the chances I'm going to choose that particular one? So that was really interesting to think of it that way. And then another thing for me is, well, I spent money on this, therefore I need to keep it until I read it to make it worth the money. And he said, babe, the money's already gone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get rid of it before or after you read it. It doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter anymore because it's done. And that was interesting to think of it that way. And then he said, the problem when you're trying to get rid of books and you're having a hard time is that in your mind, you're thinking, I'm getting rid of this book, therefore I don't want to read this book, which is not the truth. That's not true. All the books I got rid of, I still want to read. I still want to read them, but I'm not going to read them anytime soon. And him saying that, I was like, no, you're absolutely right. I feel like if I'm getting rid of a book, that means I'm rejecting it. And I don't need this book and I don't want it in my life and blah, blah, blah. And that's not necessarily true. I do want to read all these books, but I know that I'm not going to be reading them right now. And he said, if you have a shelf of books that are all books that you would 100% pick up right now and be excited to read, wouldn't that make you happy to look at your shelves instead of overwhelmed? And I'm like, yeah. So it was one of those conversations where it was really good. And it helped push me over the hump of just doing it versus this is going to be so incredibly hard. And it was very hard. And I struggled. Like this is why it's taken me a couple of months. I just last week finished this project and finished unhauling everything I'm taking off my shelves for now. And then he said, and the other thing, Sarah, is that you can get these books anytime. They're not going anywhere unless it's a special edition that's not in print anymore, or it's a signed edition, that's special. So keep those books, keep all your special editions, keep your signed stuff, keep things that you're not going to be able to get readily available later. But 90% of my books are books that I can get anywhere, anytime. It doesn't matter. And he said, when we have our retirement home and you have your own personal library, you can start restocking your library again. And it's not going to matter, because we're not going to be moving. So you'll have more room. You're going to, it won't matter. So it made a lot of sense. It was also really hard. And I made the decision that my goal was before we moved over the summer, I was going to unhaul half of my TBR. So 400 books. I set the number at 400. And I went through phases where it was easy. I had days where it was easy for me to get rid of books, and I would get rid of stacks and stacks at one time. And there were days where I would pull 2 books off my shelf and I would be like, nope, I can't do this anymore. And I would stop. So it was definitely up and down. Depending on what day. I definitely waited until I was in the mood to do it, because if I did it when I was already frustrated or just not in the mood, it was not good for anybody. So I had to say, today's not the day. And I didn't do it every day either. I just, I would do a little bit and then I would wait a week or 2 and then I would do a little bit more. But I did it. I took 400 books off of my shelves. 400, you guys. And the fact that I got rid of 400 books and I still have over 400 books on my shelves to read from is a little nauseating. But the books that are on my shelves right now, I do feel so much happier with what's on my shelves because they are all books that I would pick up right now and I would be excited to read. I've even gotten some of my read books on my shelves because most of my read books are sitting in boxes in my closet because there's no room on my shelves because I have too many books. But I was able to actually empty an entire box of those read books and I got them back on my shelves. So some of the books back here and, all around my house are books I've already read, which is awesome. My goal is to have all of my books on my shelves, whether I've read them or not. That would be fantastic. So I have a little bit of ways to go for that, but I've at least gotten started. I got 1 box empty from my closet, which is nice. And it was a long process and it was hard, especially towards the end. I think the last couple sessions where I had some stuff to unhaul, it was getting hard. And I had to keep telling myself, it doesn't mean you don't want to read it. And I did keep a list. I made an Excel spreadsheet of all the books I got rid of so that, if that way I know what I got rid of, what I used to have, what I was still interested in reading. So, I can look at that and I can reference it. And I think it'll be interesting to revisit that a little while later and see if I actually did go back and read any of those books. I think that would be interesting because between being able to have access to any book I want anytime really, and the library and, audiobooks and all that stuff, I can read these books anytime I want to. I don't have to have them on my shelves sitting there waiting for 3 years for me to pick them up. And it was a little terrifying, but also really freeing to let them go and, just say not right now, maybe another time. And I think it'll be interesting to see which ones I really do go back to. But it was hard. I made some really hard decisions and I'm proud of myself for doing it. And I never want to do that again. So, which means my purchasing is going to be tremendously slowing down, which it already has. I will say, like the past few months, I have not really been buying much at all, which is actually true. And really rethinking if I have a book that I'm thinking about buying, I'm really thinking deeply about it before I purchase it. And a couple times I put a book down and been like, nope, not right now. Like, I don't want this to end up in an unhaul later on, you know what I mean, without reading it. So it was good. Now, what did I do with those books? most of them are sitting in my guest room right now because they're for sale on Pango. So I did list everything that I could on Pango. There are certain books that I couldn't because I bought them from work and I used my discount, and I'm not supposed to resell those. So I'm respecting those boundaries. I had a lot of ARCs that I got rid of, ARCs that I've had for years and I just never read. So those went. And I had some books that were not in the best condition, whether I bought them secondhand and they were damaged or, whatever. They got damaged along the way. Sometimes they can get damaged when we're moving, depending on how the packers pack them. So if they were not in great condition, like I wouldn't buy them on Pango, then I'm not going to post them for sale either. So those have already been donated. But I think I had like 3 boxes, maybe 4 boxes worth of donations that I just took and donated. So, but everything else is for sale up on Pango on my shop. So if you already follow me, you probably noticed I was posting a bunch of stuff. And that's why. If you want to see what I got rid of, I'll leave my Pango shop down below. I'm not sure how it works. I know that I've posted my link before and some people had trouble finding it. So I'll leave my link again down below, but I'll also include what my shop name is. So if you're on Pango, you can just go on there, you can look up my shop and you'll see it. But sometimes that can be a little bit easier than trying to use the link because I just don't know how it works between the website and the app. It's a little bit different. But yeah, everything's for sale. So it's all up. And I really want to try to sell as many things as I can before we move because I really don't want to move any of these books with me. I want to try to sell as many as possible. And then whatever's left over, I'm probably just going to donate before we go. That's the whole goal, is to get these completely out of the house before we move this summer. So, yeah, that's what's happening. That's been happening for the past couple months. And I did not document it because I just wanted to, I don't know. I would have felt probably a little extra layer of pressure if I had filmed it. So that's why I didn't. I decided to just do a discussion after the fact. And number one, to make sure I even followed through and did it. It was a little dicey there for a little while. I was like, I don't want to do this. And that's when I had to take a break. And I just, I don't know. Documenting it didn't feel right for me at the time. So I didn't do that. But I thought I would just turn it into a discussion instead, because if you follow my stuff and you follow my Goodreads and you see my book hauls and notice that I'm not reading some of the books that I've hauled, that's why, because I might have gotten rid of it. So the numbers are definitely changing all over the place, but it's all good. It's all good. I feel much lighter, and I feel like when I look at my shelves now, I'm more excited about what is sitting on my shelves. And I can see everything, and that's amazing. Nothing's double stacked. Everything is out and I can see it. And yeah, I think it's going to be easier to make some choices on what I'm going to be reading. And I can focus on the things that I really, really want to read. So, all right. Thanks for listening. It was a process, but I'm very happy with the results. Very happy. And yeah, it was a big decision for me. And I know that, getting rid of books is not a big deal for a lot of people, but for me it is. Loving them as much as I do and considering myself a little bit of a collector as much as I do, it was hard, but I'm happy, and we'll see how it all goes for the future. All right, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys get rid of books? I'm very good about getting rid of books after I've read them. I'm good about making a decision after I read it if I want to keep it or not. Was this a favorite? Yes, I keep it. Was it not? Then no, it goes. I am good about that. That I'll say. But it's the actually like picking it up and reading part that I struggle with. So, all right, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.